Thank you, councillors, members of staff, members of the public, media. Welcome everyone. Lovely to see you all here. I'll move apology from Councillor Martin. Can someone please second it? Seconded Councillor Graham. All those in favour? Aye. Those against. Now, I've got one late item, which is representative review. Everyone seen it? Everyone read it? Has anyone got any other late items or urgent business they wish to bring forward? Can I please have, in fact, I'll move that one comes in at number 6 on our agenda. Can someone please second Councillor Kennedy? All those in favour? Aye. Those against, declarations of interest, anyone? If not, members of the public, opportunity for public forum? No, righto. Thank you, everyone. If we could please move to the first item on our agenda, which is the Lincoln Reserve Management Plan. Mike, a lot of work gone in here from Mike, so please enter and sign in. Just so that everyone knows, we are recording.
Yeah, I think it's on. Yep. So yeah, no, thank you, Your Worship. Yes, it's been ongoing for a few months now, but finally got to the point to ask for adoption of the Milton Reserve Management Plan. So happy to take the report as read and to answer any questions.
Oh, sorry, through you, Mr. Chairman, just the one change that was reflected in the footprint. You mentioned, Mike, and
yeah, that is explained in the report, but yeah, there is a very minor change to what was put in front of you, I guess, at the committee meeting last time, and that's explained, I think, in the report. But happy to answer questions on that.
But just to reiterate, it's believed that it's necessary to meet the requirements of status quo because it relates to a footprint that includes existing buildings. So that was an omission rather than an amendment in that sense, and so that's why that footprint change has been put in.
Excellent. Thank you for that clarification. Remember, councillors, we are seated while we're doing questions. When we open up for general debate, we stand. Matters open for questioning. Councillor Luton.
As we approve this reserve management plan, I see Taylor Park is still recognised as a campground. Can that be changed in the future, or is that part of the reserve management plan? So it is, or will always be a camping ground as long as the management plan does.
Through you, Your Worship. So the Reserves Act talks about it's got a lot of stuff about reserve management plans, and but what it says in there is that the RMPs are supposed to be under continuous review. That's the wording that it uses. So it doesn't quite explain what that means, but obviously, to actually change sort of, I guess, something that's of significant interest to the community, it would probably make sense and be wise to undertake some form of consultation before you amended it. But at the moment, yes, it is provided for as an activity within a specified footprint.
Further questions, councillors? There's no more. Also, Councillor Volwell.
So, question then, just regarding the cabins. While we've resolved to take the cabins from Taylor Park, in the meantime, does the reading of the reserve management plan preclude putting cabins on that in the camping ground area as it is specified, outlined in the plan?
That's a good question, Your Worship. So no, the RMP does not specifically say thou shalt not have cabins on Taylor Park, but as noted in the item, that was the direction from the committee meeting. That was one of the first decisions that were made. So that's why it's included in here. But in terms of the RMP, it again, it identifies that campground is an activity that's approved at that reserve and within a specified area.
Following on from that, Mike, so 2017-18 reserve management plan that we did, when it listed camping ground, you then default to the Camping Ground Act, which lists cabins as one of the activities as such. So therefore, in 2017, by saying there was a caravan site, it did include cabins. Am I reading that right? So not specifically now where we are, but generally, when we say camping ground, it is defined under the Camping Ground Act, what that is.
I think, Your Worship, you're probably getting into, operational matters maybe,
Yeah.
which is, the RMP is a regulatory tool to,
Yeah.
say what should happen on this reserve, what are the arrangements that are in place in terms of, and it doesn't tend to delve down into, okay, so what does a campground look like? What is it comprised of? You'll just assume that.
Your Worship,
camping activities.
if it helps, how that would resolve itself would be where we are working with other campgrounds, council reserve land or council land, it's managed by lease. If we wanted to, we could put rules in a lease. We tend not to because we leave it to the private operator to manage their campgrounds because that's the whole intent of that. We have more control, obviously, if it's a campground that we own. Again, we can put any rules we want around operations of a campground at the end of the day. But what Mike is saying is that at the higher level, reserve management plan sits at the level of just simply saying an approved campground. So that's where the controls sit.
Is there any further questions from any member of staff? If not, that brings the questions to a close. Matters now open for discussion. Thank you, Mike. If you could please stay just in case, because we'll take the latitude. You can come in. Discussion, councillors. That's what happens when we go back to 3 each, isn't it? Councillor Ludeman.
Well, some discussion. I'm going to raise concern that we're leaving this in as a camping ground in the reserve management plan because without the huts on, it's running at quite a loss that the ratepayer is funding. And I just am concerned that we're allowing that to happen. We're looking at why rates are so high and everything else, and here we are leaving Taylor Park as a camping ground that the ratepayer is having to subsidise because it's not paying its way. I mean, fine if we can lease it out, but actually to be leaving as a camping ground that we're running as a cost to the ratepayer. I'm sorry, I had a question.
Thank you, Councillor Ludeman. Councillor Buck.
Thank you. Milton is just on the cusp of becoming really, really profitable and a good place to stop. We need the camping ground for all the residents that can't afford their own housing. They can afford a caravan, some of them, and they stay there. We need to be able to have that so that we have accommodation for people, and also when people are passing through, they want to stop in Milton with their caravan, with their tent, and we need to have that there for them. We've got the airport so close by, and with the cycle trail, there is hundreds of people cycling through Milton. One of the cafes had a booking one lunchtime for, don't quote me, but it was 50-something people they were cycling through, and they were seeing what amenities Milton had for when they come back and do other cycle tours with their friends, not the club that they were in, but with their friends. Oh my goodness me.
Thumbs up.
That's a show. Sorry, humble apologies. So Milton really requires that to stay there until we get things decided, until everything is sorted out about the cabins, the area, and what is going to happen long term. We cannot rush in and make rash decisions and wipe out the camping ground. If you do that, that will kill Milton and the businesses to be able to have people come in and stay for the area? Would you like to front up to Milton and say, sorry, we're just wiping you all out, no camping ground, we're going to shut you down? We're doing up the main street of Milton, what for? To attract people to our community, to have them come and stay. So if you shut the campground down, you're virtually helping Milton to shut down. We want the community to grow. We want ratepayers to come in, look and see what amenities there are and stay. We want them to spend their money. They're not going to be able to do that if they come along with their tent, with their caravan, and some stay for several days and have a good look around, and then they go on down to the Catlins. You're going to pass them all by and they'll just go central or they'll go south. We want to attract them to our community, and so therefore I will be very, very concerned if we shut down the campground. That has not been consulted on, and I would be horrified if we do that, and so would the Milton public. Stick up for our community. We need the campground.
Thank you, Councillor Finch. Can I just caution councillors that we're right on the outer extent of what's pertaining to the Milton Reserve Management Plan, and there's a bit of spillover into our next agenda item. So we just focus the discussion on Reserve Management Plan, which no doubt Councillor Graham will now do.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor, just to counter the remark by Councillor Ludeman that it be subsidised by the ratepayer, do we then review libraries, swimming pools and everything else?
Further questions, councillors? If there are no further, thank you, Councillor Volwela.
Thank you, Worship. Actually, I don't have a question, but to
Yeah.
move this forward, I'm actually prepared to move recommendations that Council receives the Reserve Management Plan and Council adopts the Milton Reserve Management Plan. We've done serious consultation on this. I'm disappointed myself that we are moving the cabins, although I think that was because of the fact that I moved at the time of the resolution, we moved the cabins, and that really was because of the process that we went through, didn't go through at the time that the cabins went on there, working with our community about that. And justifiably, we got some very negative feedback about that. I think the plan allows us the option still of putting some cabins there in the future, particularly with that revised outline that Mike has presented to us in the Reserve Management Plan. Other than that, the rest of the Reserve Management Plan for Milton is basically unchanged. It's updated. It's there for the Stewart Reserve as well. So that's been a change since that was, since the original plan was done in 2017, sorry. Yeah. So that's been taken into account. The Reserve Management Plan still allows a good degree of flexibility as to what can happen. The community can get involved in projects as well that they wish to, that they think are relevant, they would like to see happen, as well as what work council does in that. There is, for those people who may not be aware, unfortunately, perhaps not unfortunately, but all the trees in Taylor Park are actually protected under our district plan. And if we want to do any significant work on the trees there, we need to get resource consent to do that, which is another step, so that if we were to do some work in Taylor Park on those trees, the community would also have a chance to have some input into that too. And there's some wonderful things, but there's also a lot of shading in Taylor Park where the camping ground is. I think we probably need to go back and take a look at what we do there to make that a more habitable space in the future, So I think we have the flexibility to go ahead with projects in Taylor Park. Unfortunately, moving the cabins is a given at the moment, but I think there are options we can look at in the future that will satisfy the community with cabins in Taylor Park. In the meantime, the way it is configured at the moment, if and when the swimming pool goes, that's another matter. We will go back and talk to the community again about that. So that,
Second motion.
And so I've got a move of both recommendations by councillor Bold-Wheeler, seconded by councillor Finch. Specifically, the recommendations are now open for discussion. If there is no further discussion, we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against?
Aye.
Can we please have a show of hands? My apologies. So everyone in favour, please raise your hands.
So other than councillor Barron and councillor Catherwood.
But they could abstain. Yeah, and those against, please raise your hands.
Councillor Barron.
Councillor Barron, councillor Catherwood, abstain. Thank you, everyone. Motion passed. On to agenda item number 2, future options for the relocation of Taylor Park cabins. And you're right there on the spot, Mike. What's yours?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, obviously a follow-on decision based on the previous item. Again, happy to take questions and to take it as read.
Thank you for that. So we'll start once again with questions for Mike or any other staff member, councillors. Councillor.
When I read this, it's like Milton's lost its cabins. It's you've been naughty, put them there, now you're taking them away. Why is there not an option that a committee in Milton be formed? They come up with a spot where they want those cabins put, where they're happy with them, and the council makes it happen.
Well, okay, you ask what I can answer.
Through you, Your Worship, I think that's catered for under option 4.
So we have to remember, council, that we voted on this 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. So part of that in your questioning, and then the cabins are an asset of the wider district, which includes Milton. So it's incorrect to say that we're excluding or including anyone specifically. They are the asset paid for by the wider district. We now have to, that is the process now that we're going through. Councillor Bold-Wheeler.
question through you, Your Worship, to staff. Has anybody, any private individuals or organisations indicated an interest in purchasing any of the cabins?
Through you, Your Worship, yes.
Can I ask what sort of numbers?
Less than 10.
I've also been approached, and I'll just wait until the process. I'm not going to predetermine a vote, but there has been requested. So
Another question. Has the Department of Corrections expressed any opinion on would it affect our relationships with the Department of Corrections if we were to sell the cabins rather than retain them?
I'm not, perhaps not the best qualified to speak to that, Your Worship, but my understanding is that, no, that the relationship is good, and yeah, they're happy to carry on if we wish. Yeah, PB is nodding her head.
Councillor Herbert, followed by Finch.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Thanks, Mike, for another great report. So a couple of questions. The rent we get for the one that's currently filled now is?
Through you, Your Worship. There was one that was being rented. It's currently empty. What's now become empty. It was rented or available for rent at $130 a night or $300 a week.
Thank you. Second question. So hypothetically, if we just move the cabins that are there now to another location, in 2 or 3 or 4 years' time, and our contract's still in place with corrections facilities after we've done the 10, they're producing 2 or 3 or 4 a year, depending on inmates, sort of a couple a year,
If the question is how many can they
produce annually
produce?
on average.
Yeah, it depends. The answer is it depends.
Yeah.
So obviously depends on, they don't have employed staff, if you like. It depends on the experience and the skills of the people they have currently there. But assuming that they have a full complement and they're all reasonably well trained, it takes about 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But I would, based on that, realistically, I guess you would get somewhere between 3 and 5.
Just trying to say, once we get to 10, we're not, there's ability to make more than 10 in total.
Yeah, so
That's I suppose my question.
So I think there's a little bit in here on that in the report that saying that in the agreement that was signed in 2021, it doesn't specifically say that, but it seems to indicate that both parties were happy to carry on if
Thank
it
you.
was required.
Great, thanks.
Councillor Finch, followed by Payne.
Thank you. My question, there's been interest shown in the cabins. Was that interest in the Bruce Ward, please, of both?
Through you, Your Worship. Bruce Ward, yes. Clutha District, yes. Outside of the district, I don't think so.
And Mayor Cadogan?
Clutha District, yes. Outside the district, yes.
Yeah.
Councillor Payne.
Thanks, Your Worship. And a question for you, Mike. Look, I've been doing these sums at home, and I'm trying to balance the relocation versus storage versus the options that we've got. And the calculation for me is if we've got 10 cabins at $300 a week, $3,000 a week, $150K a year, correct? Simple calculation.
Math's not my strong point, but yep.
Rounded and rounded.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So I just needed confirmation of that because that will have some bearing on which way I'm going to vote here on this.
Any further, Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Your Worship. So then, could we just get a clarification, is Sharon available? So Taylor Park cabins fall under project 670007. Can I get a cost on that? Because those figures I had of that project 670007 are different to the breakdown of the report.
What page, sorry, councillor?
No, just, it comes up in the projects. It's not in the report, but Taylor Park Cabins costs to the ratepayer to the current day is project 670007. And I just want to know the latest figure of that compared to what we're seeing in the report as a figure per unit.
So just,
'Cause it's-
again, sorry, just reading, again, I'm just referring to the report.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're talking about page 19 of the report, of the GHC report, just so we're clear on what it is that's being questioned. And the difference between total build for cabin plus cabin setup costs and what's showing in the code. Well, there will be a difference because that doesn't include the undergrounding, all the servicing requirements and that. So there was a substantial cost to do the platform setup, which we have mentioned will need to be recovered from, which can be recovered from the campground account. But what we were identifying was purely the cost to build, cost associated with the actual construction of the cabins themselves. So there will be a difference between that, between what you see the total project cost and what was in the report for the actual build cost.
Water and sewer services. Yeah, so I understand that. I'm just asking for that figure. So that figure then, I divide that by current 8 that the materials are bought and paid for. That's the actual figure that it costs the ratepayer.
Well, again,
To this day, even though I understand what you're saying, I just would like that figure, project 670007.
I'm just saying, though, Your Worship, I'm assuming from the question that you know what the answer was to that, or are you saying
No,
you don't know the answer?
No, I don't know because I've had 2 different answers previously.
Is it fundamental to your vote, councillor?
Well, it would be fundamental to how I discuss it, but because I think when you get the actual figure, you'll divide that by 8, then you'll see the actual figure that it's cost the ratepayer that we were at this day, which is 4 cabins.
No. Through you, Your Worship, I am able to confirm that based on the latest update we got about a month ago, the underground services cost was about $241,000. So I can't guarantee that's the total project cost that you're quoting. I'd have to go and check that, but I'd suggest that cost plus the cost of the cabins.
So that's 241,000 to connect 4 cabins, or was that to connect
10.
8 cabins and 10 in total?
Yes,
All underground services are in, ready to go for 10 cabins.
To confirm it's power, water, sewage.
141.
And can I just, an ancillary, sorry, but didn't we also, while the prison paid for everything there, didn't we pay for that jig? You know, the thing they move it around on? So that will be an entrenched cost that could get divided by the 10 or by the next 100. Was that right, that we paid for the jig?
I'm not sure.
Councillor Catherwood, are you happy with that as the answer for you to be able to continue with voting on this? Or before the vote, do you want, you did ask for Sharon? I'm unsure.
No, if it's 241, it's 24,100 a cabin, isn't it?
That's what you would
Yeah.
have.
Divided by 10. So it's 24,100 cost recovery to the ratepayer project if you sold those cabins.
Just
If you've got
clarification,
50,000.
again, what I said, Your Worship, was that the campground account, the current way of funding that, if it's a sunk cost, would be to fund it under the campground account, which has made money from sale of campgrounds. So it wouldn't be a cost to the ratepayer. It would be an opportunity lost, but that's not the same as a cost to the ratepayer.
Right, so just before I do go back, you're happy to move on, Councillor Cavill? Right, I think I had Councillor Finch, Payne, someone. Did I get that wrong? Who do I have?
Not all done.
Councillor Graham then maybe, that was close.
No, it wasn't, yeah. Quite commonly confused, councillor Payne, councillor Graham. Just clarifying something for you, if we decide to offload these cabins, we would not be getting any more built?
No, through you, Worship, no. There is a contract for 10 in total, of which 4 have been delivered. 4 are being completed at OCF at the moment, with another 2 as per the agreement. This report addresses that in subsequent recommendations, and also it doesn't stop us continuing to have more cabins or stopping the process.
Even if we decide to offload them?
Correct.
I could see that as not very tasteful as far as people manufacturing tiny homes, having to compete with no labour content is included in the price.
Further, Councillor Volwell.
Oh, I think councillor Barron was going to ask a question.
Councillor, sorry, Councillor Graham, I haven't even gone that far around. Councillor Barron followed by Volwell then.
Thank you, Your Honour. I'm a bit of a loss because of the complexity of this project, but Councillor Catherwood was on the right track. That was at the last meeting where Sharon Jenkinson told us that the cost to date was $741,000, which is $74,000 a cabin, and now we're back to $50,000 a cabin for the cost. So there was that $24,000 difference, and it's stated by Steve then that it's no cost to the ratepayer, but that money could be used to offset rates or benefit the ratepayer, even though it doesn't. They don't have to pay extra for it, but there is a benefit to the ratepayer by not, if we didn't have to pay it. Also, there's going to be a cost to remove the infrastructure and the gravel that's on the green space that the submitters wanted the cabin to be removed from. is there a cost available, Mike, to remove the existing infrastructure, gravel, rock that the cabins are sitting on?
Through you, Your Worship, no, we haven't requested quotes on that, but as noted in the report, it would be, just considering the scope of work involved, it would be significant, the word I used, but I don't know the number.
But just
It's $1 million project.
Yeah, but just to clarify, I mean, we wouldn't intend to spend money that isn't necessary, so we'd be looking at capping the above ground elements of the infrastructure and just relaying the surface to grass, so minimising the cost. Also, it also means that, in the future, as Councillor Volweiler said, who knows what might happen with future iterations for the community of Milton. It wouldn't make sense to entirely rip out all the infrastructure that's already there, and it could just sit there. So that wasn't our intention. We would be minimising that particular cost.
Councillor Volweiler.
I did have another question, as sort of I should have asked before, but of indications from people wishing to purchase, were any of those from other camping grounds within the district?
Through you, Your Worship, I haven't had any discussions with campground owners on that matter, but others may have.
I don't, hand on heart, I don't know whether one of the people was around, what his underlying motivation was. Could be.
And one further question then. Previously in our community housing, we were looking at the option of putting in more units on some, by some of the existing community houses. Yeah, specifically Clutha, Milton and Waiholder, I think. Is staff able to recall how many sites we were potentially available to do that on?
Well, through your wish, it would be a guess. I recall what you're saying, that we've done homework around that because we've had a plan to put in new housing. I know Kelly has done some homework, but I'm not sure if he's got it more at hand. If he does, then it might be on.
So Kelly, if we just waited just for recording. Thank you.
Is that better? So we have done some work around that particular scenario. There is space available in Milton at the moment for between 4 and 6 units. Other locations could become available, would take time and preparation for that.
Thank you.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure who wants to answer this, but my question is about the very nice looking deck that's out in front of them. So a couple of questions. Where does the cost of that fall in those two tables, either i.e. under the construction or under the fit out, the deck, and after that? So is the deck able to be repurposed? Like if these cabins hypothetically are moved, can we take the deck without ruining it and repurpose it?
Through you, Your Worship, the first question, no, that is not included in those two tables. Those two tables relate specifically to the cabins, themselves, not anything around it.
Right.
Yep.
So that could be part of the
Possibly
240, because they could be a couple $1,000 each, couldn't they?
Yep. Quite a bit. And the second part of the question, I am not sure of that, but Hebe possibly can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful looking. If that cabin was hypothetically picked up and moved, can the deck be repurposed, or is it torn to shreds?
So that deck has been relocated from the previous locations, and the builder wasn't liking it because it was twisted so much. So probably not. But probably can work.
So those decks weren't built on site for that particular
They
cabin?
were built on site.
Yeah.
And then it got removed for the fire brigade people.
Oh.
And then the builder trying to remove as much as can, but it got twisted so much. It probably can, but it's just very carefully.
Right. So don't get me to do it right.
Probably don't want to move it again.
Just looks really good. It's just a practical question as to whether it's repurposed. Thank you.
Councillor Phelps.
Through the chair, I just referred to what Councillor Boyle said. Would it be more viable for the community housing, for example, if it was in one spot, as far as connecting up the services, etc., or if it was all in one place, the whole 10 cabins eventually, to help community housing, is it cheaper to do it in one spot, or does it really matter if it was 5 went somewhere and 5 went somewhere else?
Through your worship, I mean, maybe Jules is more of an expert on that, but I would have made sense that obviously the closer together the cabins were and more densely, the more of them, I guess, that the per cabin rate to do that work would be less.
Do we have anywhere that could fit the whole 10 that we know of?
I haven't investigated anywhere that anything along those lines really at this point. Waiting for a decision first.
Through your worship, just checking with Mike. If it was to be used for council housing purposes, am I correct that it would have to be reconfigured?
Yes, that's correct. That's outlined in the report, but pretty reasonably minor. So there's a section in there about Building Acts, etc. requirements, and basically the change, so as I understand it, is that they need to have to be a house as such, or somewhere where people live permanently. It needs to have an oven, however small that oven is, which currently they don't. So, and if you were to make those changes, as noted in the report, you might do some other minor things as well.
There was something also with the bed, wasn't there?
Yeah, you could,
double bed or single if you want, but they're minor.
I guess the thing is, Your Worship, that they would, the design for those cabins was for a campground cabin. So if you wanted to repurpose them for something else, then you obviously go back to the drawing board as such and think what would work best.
And Your Worship, again, just to follow that line of thought, is that one of the reasons why the report was constructed in the way it was, where it was addressing the first 4 and then talking about alternative options for subsequent ones, is that there are bigger issues to have to address if you are looking to repurpose, let's say, for community housing, because you'll be aware that the LTP has questions about community housing. And why is it questions of community housing? It's because currently we are not recovering what we should be recovering, and there is some big policy-related issues associated with community housing. So why the report was constructed on that basis was that it was proposing that it doesn't preclude the discussion around alternative options or additional options, let's say for community housing for subsequent houses, because you are yet to deal with the policy issues of more community housing. That's in your LTP, but there's a direction to remove 4 cabins. And that's why there was that deliberate staggering of the decision. So I understand that, you may be seriously considering community housing, but I'm just saying be aware that, one of the consequences of adopting a principle that includes these 4 houses would need to sit until you make decisions that you can't guarantee what the decision will be relating to community housing, new housing, right? So just be aware of that when you're looking at it, and that's why we deliberately staggered the options to try and deal with the 4 first, but open up options around alternative uses for when you are dealing with these bigger policy issues. Just something to remind you, Your Worship.
Any further questions before we go into general discussion, councillors? If not, the matter's open for general discussion. Councillor Finch, was that a scratch of the head or
It was a scratch in the head, sorry.
Councillor Payne?
Thank you, Worship. Look, I feel we're committed to OCF, to be quite honest, and we've already made the procurement of all the materials, haven't we? We've got a commitment to finish these we're also committed to removing the cabins. We know that. But where I'm lying at the moment, I'm probably thinking relocation, repurposing, or selling. I'm not sure 100% where I sit in that right at this point in time, but I think we need to test the appetite of the district actually. And when I say relocation, I'm not excluding Milton or Tukamariro from that equation. I think they could be relocated within there, but I don't think it should be exclusively Tukamariro. We should open it up to other camping grounds, for instance, and hence we could relieve some of those problems. So that's probably where I'm sitting. I'd like to see us test the appetite for the district.
Your Worship, can I comment on that? Just in response, yeah, in terms of the appetite, from my conversations, I would say it is strong.
Strong, yeah.
For purchase of those cabins.
So subjective at this stage, but if we got some meaningful appetite, then we'd know better.
Yeah, sure. That's just talk cheap, I guess, but yeah.
All right, you go before me then. I'm sure.
You see,
Councillor Ludeman.
sorry, I just probably agree with Councillor Payne, and I think we should be being fair to the whole district. We're really dealing with the 4 cabins at the moment that are having to be removed, and I would be in favour of offering the 4 cabins for sale to the whole of the Clutha district campgrounds in the first instance, and I guess see where we go to from there, and if not enough interest, then perhaps on the open, opening it up. But I'd actually go to it was built for camping ground purposes. Those 4 are really camping ground fitted out. So that would be how I would be doing it. And then I consider that the next 6 that are being built, that's for another discussion. But that's how.
Thank you. If I can say it, that this is a project that certainly I've had an involvement on since prior to 2017. The discussions with the prison, with seeing the potential. And one thing that I do not want to see is that we in any way jeopardise it's a magnificent project, the prison. The 5 people that primarily worked on it, 4 are released. And where are they working? So we've got to protect that. To me now, after the decision that we made 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, this is an asset. Take away that it's a cabin, take away the sensitivity. We have a moral obligation that we have an asset of value. We're caught in a unique situation. If the next cabin that comes off the production line, we can replace. I don't want to get too hung up on where they're going to go, because let's say, if Milton got into a position in the near future, good, number 7, 8, 10, whatever. It's just another off the production line. But right at the moment, every week that goes by is $1,200 of lost potential. If we did the 10, like Councillor Payne said, it's $150,000 a year. We have a moral obligation to start getting this production line and the flow going again. But our responsibility goes further than that. And dealing with, and these are not, and I repeat, not the people that would more than likely go into it, but the wider pressure that we have on the accommodation in the district at the moment is abhorrent. And I've actually been disgusted in the detachment that many in society have from the reality right under their nose when we were faced with placing people in the Tokomouth camping ground because it had a cold tap. Such comfort for them. So the accommodation issues are right across the spectrum. I would see this as we've also spent $10 million on a cycle trail. There's so much need, but it is right across the district. But right at this moment, we have an asset that is easily replaced. We have an obligation to recover the costs as the most easy, and the only slight variation I have to Councillor Ludeman's, where she said, let's offer it to Clutha District, is, if a neighbouring district's camping ground showed an interest, I'm open to that too, with my wider social responsibility is that they're people that need accommodation, our people, let's just keep them coming off the production line. But these 4 right now we've got to sort out. The 4, the easiest would be put them on the market, certainly give them to camping grounds, our people. Don't exclude the other ones, they can come in some priority means. Let's take the 4 away. Let's get back into the immensely positive position that this whole project is. Let's keep moving, because underlying all of this is we're doing something immensely right, hugely right for the district, and that has been lost in the discussion. So I'm hesitant to force as chair the recommendation, so I actually shut up. Councillor Finch.
Thank you. I'm really gutted, as you know, that these are going to be moved out of the Taylor Park, but we've got to move on. I know we have got to get resale value for them. They can't sit there and be stored for years waiting. I accept that reluctantly. I want Milton to be able to have the option of having the cabins definitely in the future. I do not want that cut off. As I said several times, that Milton is not anti the cabins, it's just where they were placed and the process that went through. So we need to be able to have the option to have cabins. We need cabins in Milton. We need accommodation. If they're going to be sold, then I would prefer that they are sold in the Clutha district for the reason of accommodation and getting people sleeping out of their cars, because I do have a major issue with that. That sits heavily upon me. We also have people sleeping in cars, etc. in Milton. So I really want to be able to find a space where we can have the cabins within the very, very near future, if at all possible, and then be able to look at having cabins in Taylor Park to be able to utilise Taylor Park. If the swimming pool, when it gets finished, is pulled down in its existing position, that is the ideal place. It's got the showers, it's got the amenities, it's got the sewage, it's got the water, everything is hooked up there, and it is relatively new. We would not have that major cost to start off with again. It's really imperative that we do have some. So the next ones that come along, I think we have to have got some thoughts and some answers to be able to have in the near future some cabins for Milton. Milton has missed out on so much, and I know there is a lot of people in Milton are saying, finally, Milton was going to get something spent in Milton. So I know there's going to be a lot of people very upset that the cabins may be sold and go out of Milton.
Can I just, before we go on with further questions, at no point did I make the statement that those huts would be for the people in the cars. That's a wider indication of the huge pressure that's on their accommodation at the moment, but actually it's proven to be that senior management look at the jobs in the district, people on cycle trails and the like are the ones that are gravitating towards $300 a week or $130 a night huts. So that reference, please, I do not want to tag to it. That was an indication of the widest strangulation on our accommodation at the moment. Further questions, team? Councillor Harrison.
Are we in comments or questions, Phil?
No, I wanted a clarification because I do not want to
I've got both,
the answer for this that or the next thing.
I think we forget about what's happened in the past. We can't change that. We look forward with a fresh start. We've got some things here that can be of benefit to our district, and I think we should really grab that and run with it. Option 2, I'd like to see us do A and B, and that's just me saying that. For option 3, I've got a couple of questions. So is there any reason we can't, it says there, adopt in principle one of the alternative methods? Can we not, if we adopt all 3 of them, it gives us every opportunity in the future. But the question that actually really raises then, if we're going to sell these cabins, what price do we put on them? Because if we put, we've actually got the ability to claw back a little bit that we've lost for our undergrounding But I'm not sure how that would sit with the corrections facility if we start profiting from people making these.
So through your worship, the intention would be to sell it at market because there is, there is expenditure over and above the cost of the cabins that is there to be recovered. So if you did make more than what the cost was, then an argument would be you could apply that to the sunk cost that's there for the undergrounding. I think the issue when you asked the question before about what is OCF's position, I mean, our viewpoint was giving consideration to it that the decision to sell 4 cabins, if that was a decision or whatever else you're going to do, in itself is not a majority of the program, and it's done by a set of circumstances that nobody had envisaged at the time. So it wasn't a planned program to work with OCF to sell cabins, right? So for that reason, we don't feel, and we answer the question on that basis, we don't feel that OCF would have a negative view on any particular decision relating to the 4. I think if you went 3A, which is saying we're going to go down a pathway of selling things on the open market, I think that will be an issue because I think that would be going against what was intended with the agreement. But that would be 3A. In terms of anything else, it seems to me that it's generally consistent with the intent of what we were intending to do through the program anyway. And I wouldn't think that was an issue with OCF. If that answers the question.
Oh, yeah, I suppose as far as, so we haven't got a figure in mind of what the sale price would be now.
Again, you would go market. What would the market pay? That's what you'd be looking for.
So, yeah, going back to the comment on 3A, I would just include the whole lot because there's all the options in the future. If we asked all the camping grounds in Clutha if they wanted, once these 10 are used up and there's more coming on stream, and that kind of satisfied them and there was still more coming on stream, I would like to see us not have the ability to keep getting these made just because we're sticking. I suppose my point is if we A, B and C gives us every opportunity in the future to do either of those.
Your worship. So just to note on that, I guess relative to that is so there's 4 at Taylor Park. There's another 4 under construction, and my understanding is they are nearing being finished. So within a reasonably short period of time, OCF will want them gone. If you chose all 3 of those options, A, B, and C, then I guess you'd have to sell them, which obviously precludes B and C, or B anyway. So just saying that there might be some time pressure around the next tranche that are coming through.
Councillor Volwell, followed by Ludeman.
Just a question again, probably one that doesn't have an answer, but again to staff, is there a staff feel there is a timeline or a deadline when the cabins have to be moved from Taylor Park?
Yeah, I believe it's from discussions with those OCF today, that they're happy to have them there for.
No,
for
the
4 months.
cabins
Oh, sorry.
in Taylor Park itself.
Oh, no, there's no
What's the
deadline
existing
around that.
Other than the direction that the council has
Yeah,
said, you can do anything you like, but the direction was to remove them. And through your worship, we know that you will know a bit more than we would, but we do know that there was, as a consequence of the submissions and council's decision, a community view expressed through those submissions that you are to remove it, and you said you would. So there'll always be a connection between a decision you take and when you actually do it. And we know, because we see it ourselves for lots of other decisions that are taken, that we often get criticism for not moving fast enough on some things. So that's all those things that are to be considered, but at the end of the day, your choice as to when things happen.
Councillor Ludeman, followed by myself.
I was going to ask, are you ready for a recommendation?
That's what I was going to do.
Right. And I recommend 1, that we receive the report. 2, the council agrees to sell the 4 cabins at Taylor Park and offer the 4 cabins for sale to Clutha District Campgrounds East.
Happy to second.
Okay, I've got a mover and a seconder. Specifically, the recommendations are open for discussion. councillor Volwella, followed by Catherwood.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm actually not in favour of the recommendation at the moment. I think my personal preference would be something along the lines of a motion that council investigates using the cabins for community housing, and that includes the 4 cabins at Taylor Park. We have got space and some of our community housing, we've got existing community housing to put additional accommodation. They won't be cabins as such, they will be houses. So the cabins will have to be reconfigured for that. And my reason for that and not rushing the removal of the Taylor Park cabins, but allowing time to go through a period of investigation for that. And I think most of the work's actually been done regarding that because we investigated putting units, actual houses on those sites, not so far in the distant future, perhaps just a bit before the current council came to being. But for a start, we're just heading into winter now. It wouldn't be possible to remediate that site for the next 3 months anyway if the cabins were removed immediately. And also, I think the community has a sense that we are in the process of taking action and moving those cabins. The grounds at Taylor Park, being winter time, they'll be wet, make more of a mess taking cabins away from there. And the grounds aren't actually going to get a lot of use anyway. So the space that those cabins are taking up, or the ground prepared area is taking up, isn't really a loss to the community in the meantime. So I think that gives us time to conduct those investigations. I'd welcome any staff input into that if they think that's not appropriate or that they need more time to do that. But we've identified that there's a lack of community housing in this district. I mean, community housing, not social housing. These cabins do fill a role. People might say they're not satisfactory for accommodation, but long-term accommodation, but sure as hell a lot better than living out of a car or a tent in the Walkrutha showgrounds. So at the moment, I am going to vote against the recommendation, and I will propose another motion if that motion fails.
Thank you, councillor Volwella. Councillor Catherwood.
Sorry, Your Worship, there was just a question for staff about the resolution.
Oh, yeah, yes, you were.
So just from a staff's perspective, Your Worship, I mean, we'd have no comment on, on the resolution itself. I would assume that there would be an expectation that for whatever length of time the cabins remain at Taylor Park, that we would be expected to try to get some money from, from having them used, so available for use, because you'd want something. And I think it'd be our only comment is that we would expect to try and keep some funds coming in for however long the cabins were there. So we have no comment about the resolution in that sense, other than the expectation that we would think that you would want us to be having people in the cabins for however long.
Councillor Catherwood.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship. I just want to clarify the motion that's been put forward is to sell A to A, and B. I'm just, I suppose, wondering whether there's a monetary value gets put to that, because I think we have a responsibility to recover as much cost as possible. And with my figures coming in at about, it's 80 odd grand, time we've remediated that land, I'm just wondering whether that monetary figure put onto that recommendation. Otherwise, I'd have to vote against it, because I'd love to see that the ratepayer is protected monetary wise. That we're doing the wisest thing possible. We don't sell them off at too low a rate.
The only comment to that, Your Worship, would be, we would think that you would go out for a market, tender, auction, whatever, market rate. You've got a minimum being the cost that's there. But what is being suggested is that if it doesn't reach the rate that you're suggesting, that the sale doesn't happen and we don't get a sale. And then what do you do? So often you don't do it that way. You go out and see what the market's prepared to pay. We did say we fully expect the market to be paying more than the build cost. We can't guarantee the market would pay more than the build cost plus the sunk costs. It would be great if they did, but there's no guarantee. That's the problem.
So from my perspective, time is of the essence. So remember, we've got a production line. So I only see it that it is what we do right now with the 4 cabins. Consequently, I support Councillor Ludeman because the lost opportunity cost is $1,200 a week on those 4 cabins. If we also store the next 4, it's $2,400 a week. We have an obligation right here, right now, to make sure that we start flowing these back in and we get back to the structure that we had. It was a damn good structure. I'm not prepared, as Councillor Catherwood said, to put a price on it because the market value will be the market value. The market will dictate, and I have faith in the staff to be able to go through the best process. No matter what the market value is, that sunken cost has been spent. The cost that is going to be lost is every week we procrastinate. And please remember that the sort of estimated flow was, let's say, 3 a year. So we're always going to replace. If it is Housing Council of Olwela, there's an opportunity to get that flow going then. Right here, right now, we're talking of the 4 huts that due to a one-off unique situation, we're placed in this situation and we've got to expedite ourselves from it. So consequently, I'm totally in support of the recommendations as they stand at the moment. Councillor Flanagan.
Can I just ask of the staff, are we tied into the size of the rest of the cabins?
There are some limitations, obviously, in terms of the workshop and facilities that they've got and qualifications and skills that they've got. I think they indicated that there were some minor alterations that we were intending to go for had we continued with the project that they were capable of delivering. So around the edges of that type of size and what's being looked at, yes, they have an ability to do some modification. But you have to remember that you're not talking about a commercial building outfit. You're talking about a building program, learning program.
Yes, but if they needed to be made bigger, if some area wanted more for community housing, they could be made slightly larger to give more room for people.
Can I just, having gone to the prison a couple of times and seen there's certainly different drawings of different configurations. There was even one that you could take a wee bit off and put a wee jut bit out. You can do anything to any building, but there's going to be the cost, and the cost as they stand at the moment. First time it's built, it's your most efficient way. But in the future, we can certainly play with the configuration, the size, put 2 units as such together, or 1.5 unit, or 1.25. That a few differently. They'll do anything. They've been really great to work with.
Thank you.
Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Worship. Although my moral and perhaps social compass agrees with Councillor Volvo, I'm just thinking that there's some things that we definitely know. We know what the cost is to do undergrounding and the likes, and it's not cheap. And so there's more questions about relocating them perhaps to community housing for me. Are they permanent there, or is it a temporary permanent, or what would it mean? And then there's more money that I can see going down the drain. But also in that respect, I agree with the motion as it is on the table at the moment. But with one little wee tweak, I think if the money is right, we shouldn't restrict ourselves to the district. If we can sell those houses above and beyond what they are valued, then we should have a look at that with open eyes. Yes.
I mean, so your worship, the problem with that, isn't it? Because the council just made a statement, but he would have to be looking at
An amendment.
an amendment.
No, I don't believe so, and I wouldn't take it as such because the 2B reads Clutha District camping grounds first. We haven't specified that it is only Clutha District at the moment, so priority.
First, I
Yeah, I see that, your worship.
There you go.
Can I just say now we've had three, I'll take it that there's three for the motion, and I'm unsure where my count is, but I'm sort of one floating to two. So does anyone wish to speak counter to the motion before we put it to the vote?
Can I just add my closing?
Oh, yeah, you can go close. Hold on, before you close, I better just reiterate, does anyone want to speak counter to the motion? Yeah, sorry, that's your word.
Well, in closing, I'm just going to reiterate that, remember, this is just for the 4 cabins that are there now, and we're not even thinking about the other 6 that are being built. It's just for the 4 cabins that are being there now that need to be removed, which was agreed to a few weeks ago. And so, yeah, basically recommending that we offer them for sale. Clutha District first, but it doesn't exclude.
Thank you for that. That brings the discussion to a close and we put to a vote. Can I please also have a show of hands, and can you keep the hands hovering to give Julie time to write them down? So you know that everyone's quite familiar with what we're voting on. The recommendations as it stands is recommendation 1, recommendation 2, A and B. Put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands and say aye. Aye. And all those against, please raise your hands and say no.
Well, then, please keep your hand up if you voted against.
Yes, because I was not equipped. Yep, thank you.
I'm left a little bit confused. We've just had an opportunity to discuss and there's been no feedback, so I'd like to hear from them now, to be quite honest.
Who?
From the ones that are against.
Sorry, it's a vote, Ken, and we've finished. Sorry, Councillor Payne, it's a vote and we've done the discussion. I'm just sitting here contemplating where the obvious next step goes, which is just delightful. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do my casting vote. There.
So the casting vote.
I'll do my casting vote.
Motion, you wish to- Understood.
My apologies, team. I've said for 15 years I wouldn't do that, but it might just show my frustration at the detachment of social obligation that's been shown. I am quite frustrated at the outcome of it, and I think that's reflected in my using the casting vote for the first time.
Your worship,
Councillor Bolwell.
is it necessary for a further motion to, so staff have a direction on the purpose of the other 6 cabins as they become available?
I don't believe so, but I suppose you could push it.
Staff, would that be?
There is no recommendation.
There is another recommendation.
Sorry, councillor, I'll get the,
It's worth noting.
We looked at
yeah, but they don't happen. Once we do 1 and 2.
All done.
I think it's done, councillor Volwell, but can you please, I'm giving you the opportunity to help me out here with why.
I guess the question is, does staff feel as though, those 10 cabins supposed to go on Taylor Park, staff now have enough of direction on what to do with the remaining cabins?
So through your worship, my understanding was that as long as we don't begin building or want to begin building the final two, the next four can sit at OCF for some time because they don't need to move them. That's my understanding. I've got some nods, yes, because I was updated on that one. So that means that what we would be aiming to do would be to say, we've got the LTP decisions around community housing to be done. We've got, I know Kelly is putting a paper together on options around, where we're going with the existing community housing program as well, that we dovetailed. And I see those things fitting in quite nicely to, like perhaps we don't make decisions to reconfigure something until we know, where we're going with that program. That would save not having to do some additional work that's not necessary. So we could sit quite happily working through those programs, bringing it back to you to give us direction on what would happen for community housing, for example. Because I think community housing, there'd be a willingness to at least consider from council's perspective using the program to support community housing. So we can give you our pledge that we will bring that element to you, and I think we can let it sit at OCF for the moment without having to force an urgent decision around the next four. If that answers the question.
Okay, so there is a future, you think you can work in a future from what you've heard around this table today, just perhaps that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless I got it wrong, no, I haven't heard any arguments against at least bringing to you the concept of using those cabins for our community housing. We've got a program in place to be able to pull information together for you in conjunction with decisions you make the LTP. So we'll tie it in with that. It'll be around about that time, and then you can give us that direction, and then we can apply it to the buildings as a result. So I think that would be the plan, unless you decide otherwise. But I certainly think you want to at least inquire and see whether that's a valid option. Thank you.
You're comfortable now? Thank you. Okay, councillor, we'll move to agenda.
Worship. So that begs the question, and it might be a bit of a. So now options, now recommendation 3 and 4, because that's actually just fostered the whole conversation of what 3 and 4 are about, and what do we do with we've talked about 4 cabins. Can we decide now in 3 and 4 what we're doing with some of the remaining?
So
as I see it, the voters made that discussion redundant because we have faith in nothing's actually changed to the other cabins or the overall program. They're still available to Milton, Kaitanga, anywhere in the district to flow on through. What we've done with the voters, I said, is we've alleviated the unique situation and the time pressures that we're under. And we move on. We've just got number 5 is now number 1.
Yeah, and just all we're saying is that we think we can, before you get to the next decision point, which still has any options open to you, to bring in information around, the validity of the community housing side of it as an option.
Yeah, we're going to come into 4. Yeah, okay. It just means we're going to be back to this again in a couple of months, isn't it? We are.
Yes, but again, Your Worship, there was a difference because there was a need to determine, or the first 4, because there we can make the need not be so urgent for the next lot.
And the issue is going to come back. It always was going to, but it means that we can do it in a timely manner.
And there will be, sorry, Your Worship, there will be some objective measurement with that, supporting that, Steve, is that what you're saying, that you'll come back with some facts and figures and
yes,
estimates and
yes, because
I'm much more comfortable with that.
Yes, there's a lot associated with that. The people want to know what's the cost to not be surprised about underground servicing or anything like that. What is it that we're trying to recover? How does it match against the current program and that, and what would we looking to recover from people? But we'll pull it together. We've got an opportunity for that, and we'll tie it into the LTP decisions after the LTP decisions.
And I think it's very good that we do it in a timely manner, and we can now focus on the huge challenges that we've got through the LTP. Move on to number 3, which is both the community libraries. Debbie, welcome. Sorry, and Debbie. Yeah, no, I said Evie and I didn't say Debbie. My apologies. Floor's yours.
Kia ora koutou, everyone. Through the chair, Hebe and I just presenting this paper. We think it's relatively self-explanatory, so we'll take it as read, but both of us are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for that. Questions, councillors? No questions? Getting off light. Wait for the questions to come firing once we start the discussion. So if there are no questions, thank you for that, but can I please ask both of you to stay, because there could be the opportunity for questions and I'll bring you forward. Councillor Wawela.
I will ask a question, for you, Wish. Just how long will you need to close the library while that work is being undertaken?
Yes, we're planning to close down for only 3 days, Thursday, Friday and Saturday. Yeah.
As
At this stage, can I just say we're in the early stages of looking at what the close down may be. We want to minimise it obviously as much as possible, but we also want to ensure that the contractors can work as efficiently and effectively as possible. So we're just in the process, in fact, we're meeting this afternoon after this to actually look a little bit more in terms of timing.
Always assuming that we don't know what your decision's going to be.
Yes, exactly.
Councillor Finch, followed by Barron, then Ludeman.
Thank you. 6, the financial impact. This would potentially require additional rates of 8 plus GST for the 24-25 year. If it was funded over a 25-year loan, do we have any idea of what little bit on that will add up to the rates?
Through you, Your Worship, $8,000 is what it will add to the rates. It was already budgeted in next year, which would have meant that rates would have applied the year after, whereas
Per rate.
well, per rate, it's $8,000. So if it's on the UAGC, it's like 70 cents or less. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Barron.
Through you, Debbie, have you got a fixed price contract for this work?
What do you mean by a fixed contract?
Has a contractor given you a price to do this work
Yes.
at a fixed price with no variation?
The work divided into 3 parts, and I asked more than 3 contractors for a quote, and they all come back with a quote, and we choose one of the quotes as well. And there's always going to be variations, no matter what. We're trying to include as much as we can in the scope, but there's always something unexpected coming up.
Through you,
For the variation, sorry.
yeah, through you, Your Worship, they've actually highlighted a risk because we've had water issues. When they take the roof off, there's going to need to be repairs. They can't price that until they actually get the roof off. But that'll be something that'll have to be dealt with when the jobs happen.
Is it over and above this 110,000?
There's contingency in the budget, isn't there?
Yeah.
You've allowed for that?
We're allowed for a contingency for depending on how much they find. If the whole roof's broken, there won't be enough for that. But if they have allowed, there is contingency allowed in the project for some of those costs if that arises.
Thank you.
Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Your Worship. Look, I'm sitting here, no surprises. That's what I'm thinking about. And so just to follow up on that question, I'm just wondering whether all the exploratory work, has it been a desktop type study, or has it actually been some physical, lift a couple of sheets of tin off the roof, let's have a look in there? Has any of that been done? I mean, like I said, no surprises, and the only way we're going to find that is if somebody does lift a sheet of tin off.
So that the answer through you, Worship, is that's the reason why we worked with WSP to do a condition report, because we had, as mentioned in the report, we've had leaks for a number of years and we've been patching those and repairing them, and we've had a section of the roof replaced already. But the contractor who's done that work had said, we don't know what else is going on. And we didn't want to bring anything to you without trying to have as much information as possible. So the condition report wasn't totally a desktop exercise. We actually had engineers come down, and we had two different groups. We had one group looking at the structural stuff, and we did ask them to look as much as possible, whatever you can see in the ceiling cavities, under the floor. They went over that. They spent a couple of days at the library and went over it. They took photos, all sorts of things. And then we had another lot of contractors come back with different people with different qualifications to look at the environmental issues around the ventilation. And because I wanted to know, like, we've had water coming into that building for a number of years, and we really wanted to understand more about what we were likely to find if we took the roof off. Like, was that the right approach even to take? We were asking them, can you help us, give us more information to provide a way forward? So we know, we don't expect, I would be surprised based on the conversations and the report from the engineers, that they're going to take off the roof and they're going to find that all the structural beams are totally had it. That's not the case. There may be sections that haven't been able to be uncovered that they won't see until they do remove it. And they may come across some things. So we have tried to identify as much as possible, but without basically taking the lid off, we can't be certain.
Thanks, Debbie.
Councillor Phelps, followed by Barron.
Can I just ask the questions? Probably a bit silly. Is it a repair or actually replacing the roof?
It's a big repair that involves some roof replacement. It's probably the best way to describe it, because we have had a section of roof that has been replaced. This is dealing with the rest of it, essentially. It's beyond, we have patched it. We have been patching it. You know, we were doing some archival material the other day and we found people reporting leaks in 1993. So they're long standing, and the repairers have just, contractors have said, look, you just can't keep patching it.
The issue, in which, through you, Wisha, you'll remember, because this has been raised previously, it's just that we're bringing the budget forward, because how else did the budget get in there in the first place if there wasn't a project that has been brought and discussed? And the issue with the health and safety element, because I remember there was some debate as to why it should be in the budget, and we said, hey, hang on, health and safety, you've got to be aware of us. I mean, that condition report and the information relating to the mould in the walls, for example, is why we've got the statement in there that, if we don't do this, we do run the risk that we might very well find that it's no longer habitable with staff, or staff don't believe it's habitable, and then you've got a problem. At the moment, staff have been, entirely accepting of the situation, and they see the program of work to be done, and so that's why there's been a lot of acceptance of that. But let's not forget that inherently there is actually a health and safety issue with quite serious mould in the walls that have to be addressed, and that's what this program of works was doing, and so they're only looking to bring forward that's already been approved and get it done quicker. That's all.
Councillor Barron.
So would it be fair in saying that this will add value to the building, and if it was ever sold, it would be an increased asset value by doing this work? I mean, all buildings have roofs, but I mean, if I go along to buy it and say, oh, it's got a new roof on it, it's got to be worth more money.
Well,
You see it in that line?
Through your worship, one of the considerations was the LTP discussion decision around replacement of the library being pushed out of the 10-year program. So you've got an existing library that was originally intended through previous LTPs to be replaced, right? This LTP proposal has shifted that out of the 10-year program. It's not there, and so you've got a structure that you need to live with and make work, and these are the sort of things we've got to do as a consequence. So you need to bear that in mind, that we're not replacing the library 3 years from now.
Yeah,
wasting this money.
but yeah. So it's a good thing to do, isn't it?
Well,
Not only leaking, it's good for the building and longevity of the building.
absolutely, because as the condition report states, if we don't do anything, we know we've got mould in the building. We know that the environment isn't healthy. We don't have any external ventilation. So with that constant water egress that we're getting, it's not a healthy environment. And we need to continue to operate in that for quite some time, a number of years, until whatever happens in the future. But right now, it's a building that's not fit for purpose in terms of, you know, and it's not safe having buckets placed in various parts of the library.
I'm with you.
Councillor Mulwell.
If there's no further questions, I'm happy to
No,
move.
no, 2 steps too fast there. I'll get there. As chair, I will get those stages done. Not prepared to take a recommendation yet. So we've done the questioning, and once I close the questioning, we will then have discussion, and once we've exhausted the discussion, I'll take a recommendation. Sorry, Councillor Wheeler, but we better stick with that. Is there any further questions? Councillor Ludman.
Just got one question, and given that it's only 6 weeks till the end of the financial year, I'm kind of asking the question, is it so necessary to bring this budget forward, and can it not wait till the 1st of July?
Part of the reason, there's 2 reasons really why we're hoping that the money can be brought forward. The first is, as it explains in the report, we're getting into winter. So obviously when you're peeling off the roof of the building, we don't want to be adding time to the contract. We want to be doing it as effectively as possible. So we're hoping to get a window before we hit midwinter. So that's one reason. And the second reason is around contractor availability. The contractors are local and have other commitments. So we've got to schedule around their availability, and we know that we can get them, we have a window to get them this side of the end of the financial year. That may not be possible. If we go into the new financial year, we come up against really bad weather and likely unavailability of the contractors when we want them.
Any further questions, Tane? If not, thank you, staff. Matters now open for discussion. Anyone have anything? I'll start. I do have something in general discussion. I had a house once and the roof needed replaced, and I looked, and that's a good price for a roof. I think I'll do that. But my brother's a builder, and he said, once you commit to the roof, you're also pretty much committed to the incremental step of doing the windows, the back staircase, rotten boards, and the, hold on a minute. So if you look at a situation in isolation, as we have done with this, to put in the last LTP, looking at an isolation back in those days and looking at it when you've got a 20% rate rise and the ensuing challenges that we got around our LTP, my concern is that doing up the roof then takes, we're basically taking the first unavoidable incremental step to doing everything. It's going to be in that building, that there, that's it. And it takes away all the other options of, should we be looking at relocating? Should we be looking at a new building? Should we be looking at this, that, or the next thing? I will always firmly support the library, but especially in light of the challenges we got around the LTP, we are looking through it in a significantly different lens than when we made the first decision. And if we do this roof, we're going to spend this money and then go, oh, hold on a minute, we're relocating. Because, and I get what you said, Councillor Barron, but if I was to buy the building and knock it over for flats, it's got a new roof on it, so it's overcapitalised. Could be counterproductive. And it's just all these things that we've got to think of in a structured and systematic manner that we should be doing. And as I say, the change is that the last time we considered it, we weren't looking at the cliff face that's in front of us. It's called an LTP.
Yeah, Your Worship, just remember that we don't have a program of relocation. We don't have a program of a replacement because it's all been removed.
But
So
we have
nothing.
We haven't had a report to give us the options to know which one's the wisest. And we will never get that report if we go down the incremental steps of doing up this replacement and that.
There's a budget to do investigative work, and that's been pushed out towards the end of the LTP as far as I can remember, years, I don't know, 7 or 8 or something like that, because of the issue with it wasn't going to be a subject that you wanted to go down that pathway. It wasn't going to be something that you wanted to have in your proposed LTP. You know, a replacement library was not on the table. It was all removed, other than investigation right towards the end for exactly what you're saying. What we're saying is you're left with a library that's not being replaced, it's not being relocated because none of that work's in the program, and it needs to be dealt with what the existing thing. So we either fix it or we run the risk. It's not a problem, you know. You run the risk that something goes wrong, and we are unable to use the building. That's fine. We just highlighted that that's a risk.
Sorry, through you, Bishop, just to confirm that there is $30,000 in year 2 for the feasibility strategy work, and definitely all the large capital costs will push right out to the end of the LTP to enable that to happen first.
I'm just saying, and we all know it after the recent round of soapboxes, that our communities have vociferously stated that we have a rigour to put everything through a new lens, and that's what I'm trying to do. Because who's to say what our options are? And we can't say it. We haven't had a report done with all the options. There's only this option. I had someone, so not Ben Smartcane, I had someone else with their hand up here. Was it you, Dave?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, yes, so Councillor Catherwood, Councillor Finch.
Through you. So Steve, we got a latest one of this, our projects, 10 years. If you're saying that that's been removed from the LTP, is there a newer version on this document?
Yeah, it's not. It was.
That was the last one I had.
Yeah.
I think I missed something.
Donna, I mean, if I got it wrong, I thought we shifted it out.
Through you, the chair. So originally in year 1, we had the $500,000, which we're proposing to bring forward into this financial year, $110,000 of that for health and safety requirements, because the roof is not weathertight, as well as the ventilation requirements. From my memory, year 7, year 8 was where the original remaining budgets were in place for the library if we chose. So that's giving us multiple years to start that full feasibility study and assessment. But in the interim, if we don't do this repair work, the risks is that the building will no longer be fit for purpose from a health and safety requirement.
Councillor Finch. Oh, sorry, hold on, I better check the Councillor Catherwood. You're finished, Councillor Finch.
Thank you. I was going to raise those very points. We have a duty to look after people that we employ. I don't want to waste any money, don't get me wrong, but these are things that are not a want, they're a need, they're an urgent need by the sounds of things. And then if we do the roof and other things need looked at, we look at it then. But at the moment, I don't see that we have a choice. I think that we are morally obliged to provide a working place for people that is fit for them to work in. We can't ask them to work in places where there is mould. If people get sick, that's on our head. And I don't want to wear that. And I don't want them to go down with health issues because of leaking into the building. I certainly don't want older people that are going into the building to fall over buckets because we've got buckets to catch water. That's not what we're about. We're here to actually look after people as well. It's one of our duties. So I think this isn't a want, it's an actual need in this case.
If I can just say that we want all those things, but what I want is a report to show us that this is the best option for the ratepayer. Just saying. Councillor Graham, followed by Bob Wheeler and maybe Payne.
Yes, look, bottom line, health and safety, that's it. And the other argument, if the dog hadn't stopped for his ablutions, he would have caught the rabbit. So, you know, you can't go that far. Right? This got to be fixed. All right.
Councillor Bob Wheeler. I'll come back to you. Councillor Payne.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I was prepared to move recommendations 1 and 2, but I just think, you know what, if it was my own house, what would I do? I wouldn't be waiting. And I think that's the consideration here, and for all the reasons that Councillor Finch and Councillor Brown have just said, and we all know them, so I think we need to just bite the bullet and get on with it. It's already in the budget, it's just bringing it forward.
Can I roll it round to Councillor Volwiller and you seconding, because he had said it first, you're right.
Right, sorry.
No, I'm just presuming, is that okay?
I don't care who moves.
You don't?
Approved, yeah.
So now he's saying you can move it again.
So I'd like to move recommendations 1 and 2 that council receives about Hurstville Community Library budget update report, and number 2, the council approve bringing forward our Hurstville Library capital budget of 110,000 plus GST from the 24, 25 to 23, 24.
Seconded, Councillor Volwiller.
Yeah, and I'll just speak to that very briefly. I think if you've got a building that's leaking, where do you start? You start at the top and keep the water out. Then if you need to carry on, you work your way down, don't you? There's no point fixing the windows up and still having the water leaking down through the walls and things like that. So it needs to be done. We've got a window of opportunity with contractors. Go for it.
Further discussion, take? Put to the vote, all those in favour? Aye. Those against? Thank you. Over to number 5, rates remission. Oh, I thought we just did number 4. ORC, of course. Jobs.
Through your worship, happy to take that report. My report is read. Answer any questions.
Questions for staff team?
No one's ready.
If there are no questions, matters open for discussion. I can say that one of the early times we worked in with the ORC on Milton 2060, which was a real good collaboration. And look, the ORC are our colleagues and our friends. We should be able to work in with them. I look forward to the process. Councillor Barron.
Is there a summary that you can just quickly give us that explains this whole document?
Hold up. Can I just take it? We've all read it?
No.
Well, sorry, if you haven't read it, we can't vote. You're excluded, that's the only thing.
I'll
It was there to read.
Yeah, we've read.
Cool. Okay. Sorry, it just has to be that the report's there, we read it. And
Yeah, I know,
it's
just.
not an expurgated version or anything, so just to save embarrassment, we'll just stop it there. I think Councillor Mackie.
I went along to the regional council when they were in Clinton. They had the open forum there at the rec centre, and my topic at the time was the Clutha River and the between the bridges and what have you, the gravel build up, and they said, oh, we're monitoring it, and we used to monitor the rabbits that were on our farms rather than shoot them to them. That didn't end terribly well. And I just have an issue with going into a collaboration with them. If there's a major event down there, we're almost, they're responsible for that river because they told me at that discussion that I had down there that they are responsible for it. And they'll take responsibility if our clue the floods attributed to a major event and gravel build up. Now, I'd like to see more being done with extraction of gravel, and that gravel could be going on our roads, which could save us rates, money, and everything like that. And I just, But other than that, I think it's a good thing to work with them.
So the way I see it, Councillor Mackie, is that we've raised our concerns about the gravel by the railway bridge there for at least 20 years that I know of. Now, hopefully, we've got a mechanism that we might be able to have a better, because I have exactly the same concerns, and I think that this hopefully is a mechanism that we can answer. But I get what you mean. There is no way that in holding hands, if they still hold the dominant, they are mandated to it, that we are then seen as being part of the process, because that wouldn't be fair either. Further questions? Where are we going with it? If there are no questions, no discussion, is someone prepared to move? Councillor Volwiller.
Look, I'm prepared to move, go back to the recommendation, which is on
37.
It's working collaboratively with the regional council. And the work we did in Milton was very valuable in informing for a start, informing where the flood levels are, and then putting that into our district plan. There's what activities could occur in certain locations in the Tokomararo floodplain. So I think it's just a no-brainer, actually working together with the regional council. They have the expertise in this manner, in these areas, so we should take advantage of that. But we have to have some input into this, give some direction to the way we move forward.
Thank you for that.
Second that.
Who moved? Councillor Volwell moved, Councillor Finch second, specifically on the recommendations. Any further discussion? If not, put to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against? Thank you. Over to page 104. Rates remission. Deborah. Deborah there.
Oh, no, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there is, because we helped to write the report, Your Worship.
Questions, team? Councillor Catherwood.
Well, the question is they're obviously living on the land, which states in page 105. So I thought the rules regarding that if you went multi-land for rates remission was there was no use of the land. Well, I see that this land is being used because obviously they live there. So therefore, they should be paying rates.
Your Worship, the answer was that if you look at, we did look at that, but if you look at part 2 of the clause 2, the policy considerations, it meets the requirements of the criteria in Schedule 11, and Schedule 11 is the reference in your policy, and so it does provide for that, Councillor. That's why that statement's there that says it actually does meet the requirement.
Was it part of our policy or part of the legal around rates remission on Maori land that they could get it if they didn't derive an income? But would you say that living on it?
No, but if you look at Schedule 11, which is in the policy, so if you actually go to the link, look at the policy, the attachment in the policy is the referencing material, the Act material, and it actually provides for that specifically. So that's why we made the statement, because anybody reading it could have come to the same conclusion. But if you look at the policy and you look at the Act, the legislation, it meets the criteria, and that's what we said it meets the criteria.
Further questions, team, before we head into discussion? Councillor McAtamney.
It might be protocol, but can I ask why the landowners are confidential?
Because it would be a privacy issue. So when if we made it non-confidential, if we made it open to you, we'd end up having a discussion in non-public.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because part of my question just might have been referring to where Dane was coming from about living on the land, but that doesn't give an idea of how many people use that land. Or live there, yeah, it's just no fair to whānau. What does that refer to? Yeah. Who does that refer to?
I mean, if you're looking to, we might be able to find just how many people you're talking about, if that's what you, in terms of living on. Obviously, there'll be multiple owners of the land, but living on the land, I'm sure we could find that for you. We can do that. We can whip out and get that now if you want.
Yeah.
If it assists the decision.
Yeah, well, it's just a question of fairness when you're writing off rates and the uniform annual general charge, etc., and how many people may actually benefit from.
So it'll be fundamental to assist in the vote, so you do want them to.
Just see how many people are on the land, living on the land. We can do that.
Well,
Yes.
You able to do that?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
Further questioning possibly before Steve moves on.
Is there an access road that's having to be maintained by the ratepayer or anything that regards this land?
Well, not within the land,
No. Access.
but like anything, you access properties through our roads, of course.
They're not farming it.
What now, councillor Cathal?
so they obviously travel down the highway to get to the said given freehold land. And obviously have the rights to enter our pools and libraries and everything, so I just, to me, is that right? It's like, you've got every right to everything else that every other citizen in the district.
I fully appreciate it, but not a question, so shall we do the questions and then that's the first part of the discussion?
No, but is that right? So, question.
Well, the question, Your Worship, would be, why have a policy that you're actually required by law to have on remission of rates on Māori freehold land if you don't accept that, that you will have those issues, right? I mean, the legislation requires a policy on remission on that for a whole raft of reasons specified in the legislation. And we have that. And, the considerations you're talking about are considerations that are contemplated by a policy that remits rates.
So, who's Jules on?
Jules has just gone. Sharon is watching.
So it should be quite quick.
Should be quite quick.
Can someone invent another question?
We could have asked Steve.
No, what we could do
So
is.
this is not much land, isn't it, obviously, Lloyd? So this is the only Mary land that's in their district where they're asking for a rate?
No.
No.
Councillor Brown.
Did I don't know if I misread it or this is just the one, it's not multiple owners? I thought
It could be, but it's not much. The occupier might have other brothers in that.
I thought one of the things was that the reason we don't collect rates off and when there's, say, 900 owners, that'd be that much of a mission to track them all down and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So if this is a one owner property, I think it's a whole different ballgame.
Sorry, so we do have the.
You do have the answer.
Sharon, did you want to answer, or is Jules answering, or where am I going?
Your Worship, I didn't actually get a question at the time.
Oh, how many people are actually living on the land?
We don't know for sure, it just says elders live on the land and that the children and grandchildren go there regularly. But there's 3 people on the rates assessment, so there's 3 people listed as owners, it's on it.
How big a block of land?
It's quite a big block of land, it's mostly covered in bush and there's 2 little huts on it that you can get to via a wee goat track or by boat.
No maintained road.
Someone had their hand up. Was it you, Brett?
Nature's probably a statement, so I'll stand.
Can we hold, and I'll just check, because Sharon can get back to her work. Is there any other questions before we head on into Dane, followed by Bruce, and then further discussion? All right, if you
question,
just while Sharon's here.
It might be a question then. It says there in the, what they have written that the land was repatriated in 1906. Now that was about the time that the Silna Act came in, the South Island Landless Natives Act came in and gave land to many Māori families. The families came from right throughout the South Island, I think, but the land was given to them mainly in the Catlins area. Do you know if this is Silna land?
Sorry, I do not.
Because that would have a bearing probably on the number of owners as well. There's probably more owners than are registered on the title. on the rates demand.
Any notes? Okay. Further questions, team? Thank you, Sharon. Sorry for reading. Okay, team, that brings questions to a conclusion. Matters open for discussion. Dane, I did sort of cut you off on the discussion one. Are you're right with that, Councillor Boldwell?
No, sorry, that was really.
Discussion, team? For my part, the staff have stated that this application complies with our rules, and consequently, on what grounds would we therefore have to deny it? I saw it's pretty straightforward, really. We've got many examples of this throughout the district. We have the rules so that it assists us, they comply. That's where I was. Councillor Cattle.
So through your worship, so did you say we have many examples of this, of people living?
Certainly down through the Catlins we have.
Well, they've actually got physical dwellings on them and living on the land and not paying rates. I thought there was only the empty blocks is where we had the remission.
That's correct, Your Worship. There aren't many examples of
There's
actual
none,
living. This is one of the few examples that's been brought forward where people are actually living on the land. There are many examples of rates remission.
Yeah. So the question, it's not a question. So there's no examples of actually a dwelling that's getting full rates remissions.
I don't think so, is it, Sharon? We looked at that.
Through you, Your Worship, no, there's not. This is the first one we've had since the change to the law. And they brought in the amendment to Rating of Tribunal Act. And what that act did is it actually changed everything we did. We no longer remit rates either because we're not allowed to rate unused Maori land anymore. We used to rate it, try and contact the owners, and if we couldn't get the money back, write it off after 7 years. But now we just simply aren't allowed to rate it. We've had to review all our land. We do have land that pays rates though. We have land that pays rates and land that doesn't pay rates. And this is the first application we've had. Because there were certain things in that Amendment Act that we have to consider in a policy. And one was promoting, I think it's in the paper, promoting the use of the land by the whānau.
So we've never had it before. So then potentially this could then start the rest of the people that would qualify under Schedule 11. Is that fair to say?
Through you, Your Worship, the policy itself that you guys adopted as part of it wasn't the long-term plan. It was between the last long-term plan and now. That actually states that's why we say it qualifies, because that actually states that you want to encourage the use by the whānau and the wider, wider family and stuff. That's what it says in there. So, sorry, did I answer that?
Okay. So yeah, there's no.
Councillor,
I've got to say something to be fair, and I understand, and Steve explained that well with Section 11, but for me it's all changed because someone's living there. Every other one that I've been involved in while I've sat here has been a vacant section. It changes everything, for me it changes, and I understand what Sharon just said too, but I think in part of that discussion, it was a long time ago now, as soon as that land became productive or someone was living on it, I think that was then fostered the discussion of maybe they pay rates. And I agree with what Councillor Catherwood said. I mean, if they're living in the community, they'll be using the roads and they're using infrastructure. And we've also, we're at a crossroads at the moment with record rates rises. We've got to be fair to our other rates payers as well. Because that has to, the cost of that has to be borne by other people. So the way that is at the moment, I would probably not be voting for it.
Just to assist Your Worship, I would go back to the report and have a look at how carefully that request was crafted to meet the requirements of the Act and our policy and the schedule. If you look at so what we did was we included the request, it's in italics, and it covers off all the elements that is in the policy and in the legislation, and as Sharon said, in the amendment, which was about encouraging a whole raft of things. So I'll just make that point is that you need to be aware of that is the substance of the application. We've said it complies. At the end of the day, I know it's the first one that you're going to deal with. It may not be, you've got to be careful the other way. It may not be the other one, the only one you deal with along those lines. And you've just got to be careful that, you know, on what basis are you, if you were saying no, on what basis are you saying no? Now you're saying no in contravention of your policy. So just, that's what you have to be careful of.
Councillor Graham, followed by Payne.
Yeah, are we, through you, Mr. Chair, are we opening ourselves up for some sort of litigation or issues if we don't vote for this, if we don't support it?
It's just a general answer, Your Worship, that any decision you make might be open to litigation if somebody doesn't like the decision.
Yeah, Councillor Payne, followed by.
Thank you, Your Worship. So there's more questions for me too, sorry. And I've got the question for me is, they're asking for 100% rates remission. I've heard earlier on in the discussion that these are elders. Are they eligible for the rates rebate? It's just an out there question, especially if it's going up around $750 if we lean that way in the future. Consideration.
Unless you know the.
No, I don't know the outcome, but I'm just wondering.
Person, Your Worship, unless you know their salaries.
Through you, Your Worship, in this case, they wouldn't be because they don't own the land as such. You have to own the land and live in the property on the 1st of July to be eligible.
Okay. Thanks.
So Your Worship, Sharon, could you just remind, you mentioned before, but I might have missed people, what is our understanding of who's living on the land again in the relationship to the landowners?
It says that there's elders living on the land. It doesn't give a number, and it says that there are the children and grandchildren visiting and using the land with them. And on the rates assessment, there are 3 names. And so you can only, so it's owned by the owners, if that makes sense. Like Māori land's often owned by the owners. And there's 3 people listed that get the rates notices and make the payments and stuff.
But they're not the owners. There's more than 3.
I believe so, yes, it's just.
Yeah, so they're the ratepayer, not the owner. Where was I? Somewhere around Kevin, sorry, Councillor Barron, Councillor Kennedy.
So my question through you, Councillor, is, have they paid rates in the past? Have rates been paid in previous years?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Kennedy.
Okay. This is whānau land, hapu land, and they are entitled to come back and use the land. Okay. This is where we struggle in our area, and maybe we need a lot more foresight on and looking forward and more discussion with whenua in the area of what's going to happen in the future to come. We have people out there struggling, okay? They may be coming back from north that have gone, dispersed out, now they're coming home. They're entitled to use their land. It is in our policies. They've done nothing against the policies. As far as I'm concerned, we move on and the rate remission gets moved as it has been stated.
Right. Now looking for a recommendation. Councillor Kennedy.
Where are we? I recommend that we move the 100% rates remission on Māori freehold land, Chasons Highway, that's on the report. And that we grant 100% rates remission for the property.
And number 3?
Yep.
Okay, so I've moved it. Can I have a seconder, please? I'll second that. So we have a mover and a seconder, specifically the recommendations open for discussion. Right. Please don't make me do a casting vote again. So, if there is no further discussion on this, we'll put it to the vote. Can you please hold behind us so that Julie can see it. So all those in favour, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your worship.
Oh, sorry, hold and hold.
Sorry, hands up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your worship.
Could all those that say nay, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, your worship.
That
Fine.
motion's lost. I'm out there looking for another recommendation.
Doesn't have to be your worship, it has to be
I think since it was lost, if number one still has to be moved, that the council receives the report. They pay half. I'm not sure if that still applies or if that needs to be a new motion.
Well, there is the possibility also that we do not, but so we could go, prejudice the council does not.
No, we have to receive the report.
Oh, yeah, we do, definitely, we have to do that.
We haven't done that.
But there is, part number 2 could also be manipulated, 75% rate permission, 25% or something. So we haven't exhausted all options yet. That's what I'm saying, it's recommendation.
Well, just so it doesn't get clouded, number one doesn't get clouded.
Let's do that.
Discussion, I'll move that.
Thank you.
Council receives.
So I'll second that. So we're just receiving the report, team. Let's, everyone quite clear on that. So all those in favour that we receive the report, please raise your hand, say aye. All those against? Now, are there any further recommendations?
Just, if I can ask a question then. When, how often the applicants here have to apply for that remission? Is it every 3 years?
Sorry, what was the question?
How often will the applicants have to apply, they will reapply for it?
I believe that would be every 3 years. We would check if the situation was still the same and that nothing had changed, or if we become aware that there's income being made or things like that, we would be changing that.
Okay, so if there's no more recommendations, we'll move on. So we've got.
Your worship, just thinking from a policy perspective, so given the vote, council would expect that staff will bring back a paper asking for the policy to be amended to reflect that the circumstances where Māori live on Māori freehold land will not be considered a criteria, because that's the thing. I've got no problems with that, but because you know what I'm like around policy, I want to make sure that there's a reason for it, and it seems the reason is purely because of living on the land. Then we should be, in my view, from a policy perspective, specific about that, and make sure that that is then now part of your policy, because then we'll just apply it, right? So that's the outcome, and we're more than happy to do that. I'm just letting you know the consequences of the policy. We would be doing that.
So I think it's prudent that we do that. I'm prepared to move that as something.
We would just do that anyway.
You'll just do it, we don't need to do it.
As a result of the decision.
Right, we're moving on. So this is the last of the decision ones, then we're heading towards okay. Thank you, Sharon. So we've got the late item that I said I'd bring in after number 5. So it's the representation review. What we're doing with our consultation, and that was put together by Natasha.
I don't think she's here, Your Worship.
Right,
She's done it at request of council, remember? So we're just giving you that opportunity before it goes out.
Righto, so opportunity for questions before we head into discussion time. There are no questions, matters open for general discussion. There is, oh, sorry.
I'll probably just make it, I was actually one that asked for some clarification around this. So, and probably I'll explain because I went and did a bit of research myself as to what we do. So, obviously this will go out for public feedback, but then we work out the process from that. And then that goes out for another submission. And I went back, and I'm probably saying this because I believe councillors probably don't actually know, some of them, what the process is. I actually went back to 2018 and found the council document that did the representation review to get my head around exactly where we were at. So I probably, for those councillors that aren't sure, I suggest you go back to 28th of June 2018 and you'll perhaps see what the next step is, because I thought we were missing a step. So that's probably why I asked the question. I just wasn't sure that, but there is another step once you go out for this initial consultation. So I just think it's important that you actually, probably like me, get your head around the process that's to go, but otherwise, yeah.
So if you're comfortable, you haven't made the recommendation,
I am.
both of them?
Yep.
Seconder, please. Councillor Kennedy, discussion. Put to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. Smoko time. Whoa.
Can I just also say too, just in that document, just noting, and I've sent you all a meeting request today, there is now, as a result of that, a council workshop scheduled
confirmation of 2 council meetings, 27th of March, 11th of April. Someone prepared to move them as a strong correct record, please. Who said that? Someone said it. Councillor Catherwood and seconded by Councillor Phelps. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, thank you. No. A moment, please. Number 7, committee as a whole. Meeting on the 24th of April. Councillor Ludeman, sorry, Councillor Herbert seconded. All those in favour? Oh,
Just, at the end of that, it's got the meeting moved out of public excluded session and was closed at XXXX.
I gave everyone a cut.
Oh, you would have fixed that.
I didn't get mine.
Oh, you shall. So Julie, you'll get that?
Yeah, I did. I think I did get it after the fact and I looked at it.
4:40 is when it.
Yeah.
So we're right with that? You're okay? So we're going to move in a second. All those in favour? Those against? Corporate and policy, the 24th of April. That wasn't your phone, was it? No, Councillor Ludeman, seconded Councillor Payne. All those in favour? Those against? Infrastructure strategy on the same day. Councillor Graham, seconded Councillor Kennedy. All those in favour? Those against? And then the third one on the list is Regan Community Committee. Which is Councillor Herbert moved, Councillor Ludeman seconded. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. West Otago Community Board for noting. Councillor Herbert moves, Councillor Kennedy seconds. All those in favour? Those against? Lawrence. I was there, so I can move. Seconded by Councillor Kennedy. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. And risk and assurance, which was, I want to note, the independent chair, Stephen Halliwell's last meeting. Officially thank him for services over a number of years. Wish him well for the future. And in doing so, also move noting of it. Can I have a second, please? Councillor Payne. All those in favour? Those against? Over to the Youth Council.
I was there, so I'm happy to move.
Councillor Payne and seconded by Councillor, Ludeman. I'm sure you're moving, Dino.
Thank you, Worship. Just on page 166 there, Councillor Welfare attending the Future Leadership Academy in Samoa and contracted to the Board Executive in Sydney should be with this council noting. And
We certainly noted at the Youth Council.
Absolutely. We're in youth council.
Yes. Merrill report. Oh yeah, just with regards to the soapboxes, I want to thank everyone. We had a blooming good turnout from all the soapboxes by councillors, and I really thank you. Quite literally, couldn't have done it without your support. I'd have to say that, and I mentioned it this morning, but I should also do it in this forum if I'm going to touch on it. The soapboxes this year probably didn't fulfil my hopes around the submissions, and really appreciate any input onto where we should make changes and where we're going for the future, because the soapbox primarily should be to get the information out there so that people can make better submissions, not be a format for misinformation, disinformation and the like. Anzac Day, thank you for all the councillors that attend, and also for everyone that touched base with their youth councillors. Obviously one of the special days on our calendar. I will take that as my report and do the rounds with Councillor Catherwood, then we'll do questions at the end if we can. Councillor Catherwood.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, yeah, Anzac Day ceremonies, luckily at the Memorial Hall. Unfortunately, didn't actually touch base with my designated youth council. I never heard back from them, but anyway. Soapboxes, yeah, which I must say, finding 7 councillors turn up to one resident in Kaka Point was pretty disappointing. We had quite good success with locally. We did a couple of information sessions, one in Awaka and one in Kaka Point. We had about 20, just over 20 odd people in Kaka Point and over 50 odd people in Awaka regarding the process for the submission process and LTP. So it was a good little follow-up, so that was quite good. And then Awaka going forward meetings, local meetings, pool meetings, just all that stuff. And council meetings, obviously.
Thank you for doing the extra bit there, Dane. I think good initiative.
Yeah, it worked.
Councillor Ludeman. Oh, sorry, Councillor Wheeler.
Elizabeth.
Gone to sleep. Thank you, Your Worship. Not much to report really. I went to the citizenship ceremony, a very successful ceremony on the 4th of April. Unfortunately, I was away for most of the soapbox sessions, missed those, and 2 North Bruce Rural Water Scheme meetings, one on the 30th of April and one just last Tuesday night. Pretty much activities for the period.
Thank you, Bruce. Councillor Ludeman.
PCG meeting, 2 days soapbox meetings, Anzac Day service, small meetings, Clifford Development meeting and Clifford Rec Centre meeting.
Thank you, Ali. Councillor Mackie.
Anzac Day, community board meeting, the centenary meeting for the school. It was about a couple of council meetings and that was it.
Soapbox.
Oh, and the soapbox, yeah. I enjoyed the soapbox.
Thank you, Brett. Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, Worship. 24th of the 4th, meeting at Prairie Station with Joseph Mooney and the concerned locals with this property getting planted out in trees. The 4th of April citizenship ceremony, which was great. 10th, the West Oak Community Board. 17th, we had the Milton Soapbox. 21st, the soapboxes in Tapanui and Lawrence. 22nd, another meeting at Prairie Station, this time with ORC and the concerned locals. 23rd, Michelle and I had a catch up with our youth councillors. And we also had a follow up with some people following the soapbox in Tapanui. Anzac Day, dawn service at Heriot, and last night we had the Malfat annual meeting.
Thank you for that, John. Councillor Graham.
Mine will not be in any chronological order. That means that's not.
Oh, you're telling me.
Right, okay.
Right. Wongalarra Water Scheme, Kai Promo, a couple of Anzac Day ceremonies, Project Control Group, Risk and Assurance. I attended a contractors evening here last week. I thought it was really positive and a good thing. They had a good supper. Soapbox at Kai, citizenship. But I'd really like to thank Stacey from the green space. I put a service request in for a dangerous tree at the Cenotaph in Newton, and I see it's down and all cleared up. Well done. You know, does a good job. I think he was even taking a saw home with him that night too, if there were any branches that were looked like that hit someone on the head. You know.
Thank you for that, Bruce. Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yeah, reasonably, I think a reasonably busy month actually. So a couple of Clifford Community Hub Trust meetings and the final meeting of the whole committee. And I'm going to say this again, I know I said it this morning, but I'm going to say it for the benefit of the people that weren't there. This last month has recorded a $15,000 take just for the offices and the hall, which is twice the amount that we were taking for the whole year annually from the old hall. So just putting that on record here in this room, which is fantastic, and we're really pleased. We've got a wee way to go, but we are working on it. Creative Communities, Youth Council, I did a wee job for you, Your Worship. I opened the South Targa indoor bowls in Tacoma. So they asked me down there, so I went down there and opened it up for them. All the soapboxes, AIDS concern, I've been to a couple of meetings. I'm actually on the executive, so it's a declaration of interest, which I've noted. And I went to their AGM in Dunedin as well. PCG, all the standing committees, and Anzac Day as well. So it has been quite a busy month amongst other things.
Cheers, Kenny. Councillor Crossley.
How can you compete with age concern and old man marbles? So, council meeting turned up for Wahola, looking forward to running a barbecue at the rally. Been chatted with 3 ratepayers over at Torrey Mouth, Soapbox and Milton, NZAP and Milton and Lovell's Flat. Couldn't get hold of my phantom youth councillor. He just doesn't answer his phone or emails or anything else.
Brought up at
Yes, North Bruce water scheme on Tuesday night, and that's about it.
Thank you, Dean. Councillor Finch.
Thank you. The 4th of April citizenship ceremony, which is really great in our wonderful new facility. The 11th council, 16th Waihola looking forward. 17th Milton Soapbox, 25th Milton Anzac Day where I was a speaker. The 26th we had a special meeting for Otago Museum Trust Board, which wasn't a nice meeting. 29th we had the full board meeting. 7th of May, Cluth Foundation Trust meeting. And after that, I had a meeting with some residents, and we unofficially have got something really exciting happening in Milton through Cluth Foundation Trust. And tonight I have the Milton Town Hall meeting.
There you go now. Councillor McAdam.
I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, last month I went to the opening of the latest version of the Clutha Valley School. It's Mark III, yeah. And yeah, the citizenship ceremony, yeah, the soapbox, I did the Sunday and then Clutha. Something else which I've forgotten about.
Water schemes.
Pardon?
Water schemes.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I've had 3 water scheme meetings in the last week, and yeah, one tonight. They haven't gone down quite as badly as I thought they might have. I expected a few more fireworks, but people just seem subdued. I mean, some of the unit cost rises are, well, they're horrendous, but I mean, as farmers, every other bloody cost has been horrendous in the last year. Yeah. Another one.
Thank you, Simon. Councillor Fount.
Thank you, Richard. Attend to all the soapbox meetings. Some are more entertaining than others. And probably agree with your comments earlier on, value of them moving forward. Attended the Anzac Day in Balclutha, and it was a great turnout, and I thought all the speeches that were made were absolutely fantastic, well done. And also attended the last Hub Committee meeting this week, and that's about it from me.
Thank you, Wayne. Councillor Kennedy.
Usual meetings, community board, council, as Councillor Herbert said, met with our youth councillors, so that was a nice morning to catch up with them. Anzac Day, went to Dawn service at Heriot and then to our other one in Tepanui. There was a couple of local ratepayers lately that are concerned about health and Clutha Health First.
Thank you, Michelle. Councillor Barron.
Ratepayers meeting held by the Clutha Ratepayers Association at the Creative Arts Centre, where 6 ratepayers turned up, and again we're talking rates. The soapbox meetings were on the Saturday, and then Anzac Day the following week, 2 Anzac Days, and then that was all. Oh, the South Otago MP Society, I'm on that committee. That was it.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for all those attendances, team, and especially for Anzac Day. It's always that big one for us. So good attendance there. Questions for anyone, please? Councillor Herbert.
Mine's more of a comment. At the soapboxes in Milton and Balclutha, we had some staff there, and I thought that was fantastic actually, because when we get operational or financial or tricky sort of questions, I thought having some staff there was really good. And likewise, and I'm not sure if it's happened every, but the Moa Flat meeting last night, we had 4 staff there, and I just thought it was fantastic. We had capital delivery, we had operations, and we had finance, as well as the deputy chief executive. So for the people in the room, we had the 4 people there. It was, that's a good staff turnout, and I just think it's, staff should be commended, it was fantastic.
Yeah, well done, thank you. Councillor Graham, followed by Val
Just to follow up on councillor Burbett's, with the water scheme, the one at Wongalar was last night, and a very similar thing, you know, that the people there were really, not subdued, but they were accepting of what was happening and were appreciative of the staff being there. Well done.
Nice, thank you.
Councillor Val
I was just going to endorse those sentiments as well and thank those staff who were available to be there. Don was one of them. Really appreciate that. And I think the explanations that staff were able to provide there on both the operational and the financial side of things, well, it's, committee members may not have been happy with the financial side of things. They accepted that the reasons why we were having those increases.
And can I also, flown on from that, the staff supported the soapboxes. Always good to have the backup, so thank you. I've got a couple of questions. Firstly, John, the meetings you've had with the trees, well, it's because I know MP Mooney has been pushing them, but, well, he's been attending, and yet I don't know where they stand, where we stand, what the meetings are about.
I tried to shed some light on that at our last meeting, actually, Your Worship. So, and that was really around the fact that, so there's a big property, 7,500 hectares being planted out in trees, and under our current district plan, it's a notifiable activity. So the same information gets sent to both councils, ORC and CDC. One of those bits of information is called a wilding tree calculator. And the magic figure is 12. If you're under 12, it's a notifiable activity. All the person has to do is notify each council that they're doing it. If it's over 12, then it has to have resource consent to do that activity. In the last 4 years, as far as staff can remember in ORC, no application or no notice has ever been over 12. And the reason is, as you might have read in the paper, the person doing the wilding tree calculator, all they have to have is a tertiary qualification in forestry and 5 years experience. They don't have to be independent of the person doing the application. So a forestry company would have dozens, if not hundreds of people that could do that application. So these people are really calling into question the sort of validity around that wilding tree calculator.
Where was the MP standing?
In the original meeting, and I suppose my stance on it was, and I had some really good conversations with Olivia prior to this, who was our only tool is district plan. And I said to these guys, I suppose a couple of things I said to them was, we didn't invent the emissions trading scheme. We haven't invented an $80 carbon credit price. If you were getting $200 a land and $10 a kilo for wool, we wouldn't be having this conversation. There's economic drivers that have made this an attractive business proposition. The MP also stressed that, the current government is pretty looks favourably on forestry. They're wanting to drive it. So, he understood what they were getting at, because you can look out the window at Hookery Station and see the plantation of theirs and see wilding trees popping up. And they're saying to ORC, we're telling you what the problem is. We're telling you the problem's going to be here in 30 years' time. But ORC and the staff, and I had to defend them a little bit, they're working within the regulations. The application or the notice does not go over 12, therefore it doesn't trigger it. But what these people are really struggling with is that it's, as I say, the validity around that calculator seems to be flawed, that it doesn't have to be an independent person doing it. It's a 2,500 hectare property, and it's a nice run country, and that is the reason being that it's not like a pastoral paddock that gets grazed out, every now and then with a big mob of ewes. You're talking run country that's at probably over 2,000 feet, probably 2,500 feet, and cattle country that's not going to be grazed heavily. So to give you some idea of a wilding tree calculator, it's only one sheet of paper with 5 questions on it, and they're weighted. If you are sowing Douglas fir, the first 2 questions come up to 7 points already. One's a 3 and one's a 4. If you're sowing Douglas fir, so you've got 3 questions left. Yeah, and you can't mark a question zero. As soon as it's zero, the whole thing's null and void. So some of theirs were 4 to 8. In theory, you should either be 0 or 10. If you do the numbers, seven's 1 and 2. You've got 3 more questions left. You can't get an 8. You can't get a 4. But that's by the by. So that's their biggest question. They are calling into question that. So there's actually another email on here from them today. They're pretty hot on it. They're not giving up.
I didn't understand.
And actually, to be honest, even like Olivia and I had a good yarn to Lloyd about it, where we sit on it, where both councils sit, is a little bit grey, to be fair, as far as where, we've got the indigenous vegetation and then significant natural areas and significant natural landscapes. And then our setbacks. I've worked a little bit actually lately, it's been good. So it's just,
that's why I asked, because I've been asked.
Well, I mean, look, I don't want to go on, but I just stress these guys, look, our district plan is our tool. You went out for consultation on that, not everyone's going to agree with you. You could get forestry companies, you could get, retiring farmers, you could get forestry companies that actually want to make it less restrictive. I mean, regulations, people only agree with them when it suits them. Not many people want more regulations in their life. But interesting old catch up.
And then the second question to you, Gaynor, is Dunedin Museum, what is their position?
Having to do a restructure, so there is staff losing their jobs.
What percentage?
The total number, I can't remember if it stayed at 7 or if it came down to 6. But it's, a lot of it's not out there in the media yet, so I don't want to comment too much more on it.
Because I got rung by the chair, the chair. Is the artefacts on that going to still be protected? That's the underlying thing.
Yes, they're going to be protected. This
So
is something
times
our
and-
hand has been forced. We're still trying to get central funding. We're still fighting like anything to be able to get something to keep things going. The business units, they earn, I think it's just over 50% of the income that we have. And so the business units are all being run extremely well. It's not that, it's just that we basically do not have enough funding.
Okay, thank you for that, just as long as we're all aware of it. Sorry, yeah, short question.
Can I ask a question? If I consider charging? Or charging non.
I can't comment too much on it. We're getting all questions directed to our chair, who at the moment is away overseas. As I say, it's not a lot in the public yet, so I have to be very careful.
I know they're going to ask the DCC for more.
DCC picks up what CDC don't fund. So DCC pay a lot more than what they are asked to. So I very much doubt we will get more funding from DCC this year.
I just the funding thing, I just struggled with their model over the years. So they claim over 1 million visitors, not more money. So yet they charge no.
It's way more than that now.
They charge no.
We had the old counting system and we have a new counting system in. And the old counting system was way, we suspected that, was way under counting. So I can go and look in through my audit finance and tell you what the numbers are looking to be now, but they're really high. We have a donation box there as you go in, and that has made a huge difference. But some of the exhibits, some of the exhibitions that we put on are charged ones, but you have to be careful. If you charge everyone that comes in, you're cutting a lot of people out that can't afford it. And a lot of people that come from overseas. We had an awful lot from the tourists of the ships again this season, and they're starting to climb up against since up again after COVID. COVID did major damage, as you can imagine. There's so much that I can tell.
Okay, team, we're going to recommend, sorry, was there more questions?
Oh, just for Gaynor, just that comment you made, Gaynor, was, you said that the CDC didn't pay enough or something?
There's a dispute, and has been for years and years, on the act and how we pay and how we don't. Steve can fill you in on that. And what is asked for and what the CDC pay on, there's a discrepancy, and so therefore the DCC have to pay that up.
Well, I think the figure we pay is 148,500. The district, I think they're pretty generous, I'd say, as a district. I think it's more than generous as a district.
We're not in a debate here.
Okay, team, we've got a recommendation on 168. Can someone please move? Councillor Felt moved, Councillor Herbert second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against, thank you. Over to 173 for our CEO's report, please.
Take a report as read, yeah.
Questions for Steve, please? Questions, Councillor Wyllie?
Just meeting 3rd of May, just regional LWDW.
Yes. But I did put that up on the page 173, councillor, with proper formatting.
I've picked it up now.
Failed.
Regional local.
Any further questions, Steve?
Covered.
We've got a recommendation there. Someone prepared to move? Councillor Herbert's moved and Councillor McCluskey seconded. All those in favour? Aye. Those against. Documents for consent and seal on 178. Mover, please.
Yes.
Councillor Kennedy moved, Councillor Wheeler seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against. Next one over is the plethora of recommendations that we need to go into public excluded. Someone prepared?
Happy to move.
And seconded by Councillor Payne. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those against. So we're